What is rigor is a popular question in education today, and our belief is that rigor involves not only what's taught, but how it's taught. And those involve things like appropriately challenging content, content that is relevant, lessons that revolve around essential questions, thoughtful essential questions. And a delivery by our faculty that allows us, considering the class size, allows us to really connect with each student, know where they are, what they need. You can do that in a class of 12 or 13, where you cannot in larger classes, in my opinion. The other piece of rigor involves assessment and evaluation by teachers, and we combine more traditional assessments with non-traditional or alternative assessments and project-based assessments, and evaluation that really considers problem solving, critical thinking, not just content knowledge. One of the things I've taught history for quite a while, and one of the questions that we used to use at the very beginning of our geography class in 6th grade was a unit about how where you live influences how you live. And that process was eye-opening for 6th grade students. And again, that goes all the way through the design of the lesson to the daily learning process, and then eventually assessments and evaluations. The innovation piece is something, as you're walking around today, it's a very visible piece here. We had several teachers, I believe we've had between 12 or 14 or so teachers go through professional development called design thinking. And that's a process that is not identifying problems, but identifying solutions and going through the design process with a solution in mind. And primarily solutions for other people, to develop empathy, and that, what that actually looks like in a room would be research, would be collaboration, would be prototyping, feedback, several layers of that process. So there's the design thinking theory is one that we are subscribing to on campus throughout all 3 divisions, and not only in places where you would think that's logical and natural, like science class, but also in history, English classes, and all of those areas of the curriculum. The innovation piece, again, visible in our innovation labs and innovation stations, whether it be lower, middle, upper, or shared spaces. That's been a focus here for the last several years, and that's continuing into the future. And 2 examples I should point out on the idea of innovation. One that follows all 3 divisions through is the robotics program, and the ability of our students to participate in that process and in those competitions. I've been to those competitions, and the really neat thing about them is that they are competing against each other and other schools, but in between every event, you see those schools working together. So I thought it was amazing that they are competing, but at the same time they're helping each other solve problems in between competitions on other robots. So they're in a way, they're helping other people perhaps beat them in the competition, which is really, really neat. And then one example, just mentioned briefly about a change we're making in the middle school curriculum. We're moving to a humanities course in 6th and 7th grades. That merges the history and English courses. And we've been talking a long time in middle school about middle schoolers making connections, parentheses, or not making connections, and all the different things that we teach them. And I think the humanities course and connecting English and history is a logical, natural move in that direction that will allow us to deliver curriculum in a way that encourages those connections to be made. And it will also allow us to take a more thematic approach as opposed to a chronological or more traditional history approach, and not focus on a place and a time, but focus on themes like rights and responsibilities, and talk about that idea in various places and times throughout the world. So again, as you go on your tours, please keep in mind what we consider rigorous curriculum and how, especially in the spaces, we've embraced the idea of